First off, she's 30 years old. My best friend, one of my best friends, we've known each other since we were 15 years old, lives in Phoenix, Arizona. Now, any of you who have never been to Phoenix, Arizona, when I tell you it is dastardly hot in the summer in Phoenix, guys, this young lady, Chelsea, in Phoenix, living in her car. Now, I just got off the phone because my gal pal in Phoenix, we talk about every other day or so. It is not unusual. I just put lipstick on. Sorry about that. It is not unusual for the temperatures in Phoenix to go past 105 degrees. Phoenix is also very hot. There's no humidity like we have in Florida. So it is an incredibly dry heat. So the idea of living in one's car in Phoenix, I don't know how you would even do it. I don't know. I know we've talked about, we've heard calls before about people living in their car. The best suggestion I can give, join a gym. And if you, this is what I would do. Okay. I would join a gym and try to get a gym that has those private changing rooms. And I kid you not, if you had to nap, eat, all of that stuff in the locker room, if you possibly can. I don't know how Chelsea's making it in Phoenix in the heat. Also, Chelsea's saying that she initially was going to live in her car for like a temporary period of time, but then it seems to have wound up being a more permanent situation. I think this is something that happens to a lot of people. And that can be, well, I'm just going to take this really hard luck situation and I'm going to try to fix it, but I'm only going to be in it for a while. But what winds up happening is, without really realizing it, your budget starts adjusting to that lifestyle. I hope this is making sense. It did not surprise me when Chelsea, the caller, said, well, I was only going to live in my car for a while, but I'm beginning to realize this seems to be my permanent way of life. Because you realize you're you're overspent. This is a really sad situation, and I hope somebody can help her out. This is when I sit and I go, where the heck is your family? None of my relatives would be living in a car. I can tell you that right off the bat. That's just not going to happen.
Do you have a support system at all, or are you all by yourself, hon?
And that's just what I asked, right? Where is family? Now, I understand family, that not everybody has family. I understand this. But sometimes your family also become your friends. So then my next question is, where are your friends? And again, we don't know the whole story. Okay, we don't know the whole story. We know she's $102,000 in debt. But how she got into that debt and all that stuff, I hope we will find out more about it. But assuming she's not being careless, assuming that she's not done something, drugs, just, was one of those people who likes to, quit jobs at the last minute, assuming these are not predominantly her fault, these are not reasons that she caused, but maybe just, hard luck situations in life, that's one thing. Because let's face it, folks, there are some people that are going to live in their car. They have a lifestyle that is just, they're too nomadic.
By myself. I live in Phoenix. It's just me and my dog. I moved out here a couple years ago. All of my family is back on the East Coast, and I'm just figuring it out.
What is in Arizona?
I originally came here for a job. I got laid off from that job, and thankfully I did get another job 3 months later as of March 23. So I've been with them for about a year.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Honey, you live on the street.
Well, now, technically, she has a car. It could be worse. Although, like I said, in Phoenix, how do you sit in a car when the summer heat's going to get to 104? And that's 104 outside the car. So inside the car, 110 plus. Easy. I've been to Phoenix, like I said, to go visit my gal pal. People, I tell you, I think Tampa's hot. At least Tampa, for the most part, has humidity. If you have never been to Phoenix, a desert or something like that, that dry heat, all you want to do is get the heck out. Literally, from car to building. That's all you want. I don't know how people deal with the heat there. I really don't. But I hate to say it could be worse, but yeah, it could be worse.
Yeah.
What's in Arizona? This is not a life for, like, if you're my sister, if you're my friend, I don't want this for you. What's in Arizona?
What may be in Arizona is she's away from her family. We don't know if her family's toxic.
Nothing anymore since I'm not with that job.
Okay.
The current job I have now is remote. And I decided to do like, a little bit of travel and road trips and take advantage of that to kind of figure out the next step, really.
She's not in a position for travel and road trips. Travel and road trips is what you do when you got a comfortable little RV, or even if you're going to be in a car, you have the full amenities. I mean, people do that. There are bloggers, okay, or vloggers, okay, that go out there, and they're people, they vlog all day about living in the back of their Honda Civic or whatever, okay, and they seem to be enjoying it. But I think the difference is they have money inside their checking account, okay? They tend to have, I don't know, large bank accounts, but they're not as destitute as she is. My thinking is, why would she not go home? Would her family not help her? Or is her family so toxic that maybe what she was escaping to the other side of the country for is she wanted to get away from her family?
Okay. What is so, and tell me, I'm not, this isn't a judgment question. This is just me asking. What is so unsafe about going back to the West Coast or the East Coast and staying with a relative or a friend for 6 months to get your feet back under you?
A lot of trauma, PTSD.
Okay. If it's abusive, don't go back.
I'm almost getting good enough family. I could do John's job. So in other words, is she safe? No, she's not. Because really, folks, you have to think about it. And it's almost process of elimination with a combination of common sense. Why would someone live in their car in Phoenix when you got a whole family crew on the other side of the country, unless you're trying to get away from them? And if it's that bad, then she would be happier staying in her car with her dog in Phoenix. How does the dog handle it? I mean, just in the sense of a hot car with the dog. I mean, I don't know how big the dog is, okay, but can she afford the dog? We oftentimes see stories of people living. I've literally watched stories on YouTube with people living in their vehicle and they're supporting like 3 animals. I know they're furry people. Okay, I get it. I've had pets. All right, they're furry people, and at times I go, you can't feed yourself. You can't house yourself. How do you take care of the animal? But then my thought is, well, as long as the animal's not emaciated, the animal is healthy, then best friends for life. As long as the animal, the pet, is also not suffering.
I'm wondering. That's what I'm digging at. So if it's a mess, don't go back there. Okay. Not safe.
Yeah. Yes and no. I'm the type of person to figure it out on my own. I can move back into an apartment at least. But I figured like that money could go towards debt instead.
What is the debt? That's what I'd like to know. What is the $102,000 debt? Sweet Jesus, please don't let it be student loans, because that's not bankruptable.
You're in, I can't tell you how unsafe your position is right now.
It's not just physically. I mean, obviously she's physically unsafe, but it's a lot of financial too. I don't know about you guys, family, but oftentimes, when I hear about people living out of their car and not paying rent, I really wonder if they did the math. Is it really cheaper to live in your car? Is it really less expensive? You don't have a way to cook. You don't have a way to groom yourself. Okay. Yeah, again, you could do the gym, but just the medical, the physical of sleeping in a car, the gas, because you're going to have to, again, we're talking Phoenix. That gas has got to run the whole time she's in the car. I've always wondered if we really broke down the math, is it really less expensive to live in one's car? I've never broken down the math, but it would be interesting to know. I just think of the added cost of fuel because you have to run the AC, the added cost of food because you can't cook.
Yeah.
You're living on the street. You got to get yourself a place to stay.
This is not a 2-month plan. You're going to be living in your car for 4 or 5 years at this rate.
Even if you apply for an emergency housing voucher there in Phoenix, Arizona, you got to find a place where you can have 4 walls over your head. If you have to go to a shelter, go to a shelter. I want you to be safe. And the thought of my daughter spending the night month after month in a car on the side of the road in Phoenix, Arizona, when it's about to be 118 degrees every day.
Thank you. But we have to remember something, John. John has a relationship with his daughter. We don't know what type of relationship this caller has with her family. So yes, in a normal, healthy parenting child relationship, even normal friendships, yes, you don't want to see your friend in that condition. So it doesn't surprise me that John would never allow his daughter in that situation. Okay. But not everybody has that luxury.
It's untenable. I can't even, my heart stops thinking about that.
What kind of car is this?
Such a great question.
It's like a mattress in the trunk situation. You said you converted it.
Yeah, no, I converted the whole thing. It's a Kia Soul, and
it's a Kia Soul. It's probably got to be a compact Kia Soul.
I was around the country. I was exploring.
She ain't got the money to explore. I know when you have $102,000 in debt, it's like when students say, and I'll hear people say this, not in person, but if you're watching enough YouTube, you'll hear somebody say, and when I graduate from high school, before I really get down and get serious about work, I'm going to travel the country or travel the world. And I'm like, with whose money? Unless you got rich parents that are going to pay for you to take a 2-year world travel sabbatical or even a 1 year, I always wonder, how are these kids planning on getting the money to travel? She doesn't have the money to travel.
I actually did get like a house sitting gig for the summer while I'm here so that I'm not in the heat. And then I was going to head back to the coast of California to continue to travel.
Right now is not our time to eat, pray, love, and travel. That's a distraction from facing your real life.
She's escaping something, family. She's running from something. And she gave us a hint about her running from something. When did she give it to us? She gave us that hint when she said she's trying to avoid her family. I am willing to bet there's been trauma in her background. Okay, I'm going to play therapist. Just forgive me, okay? There's been trauma in her background. It's not yet resolved. She may not even be aware that trauma is what's driving her in the position she is. She's in. All she knows is that her position is not good. She knows it needs to be fixed. She understands she has $102K in debt. Okay. But running from city to city and state to state and a gig here and a gig there, it's not going to heal whatever it is she's running from. Mark my words, I would bet you a paycheck. She's running from something. But until she figures out what it is that she's running from, I am telling you, she's going to get more and more broke. If she thinks $102,000 is broke, it can get worse.
Yeah.
And we need to clean up this debt before we go on another road trip.
That means you're going to have to get some stability and get yourself a full-time job and 2 part-time jobs and pay this stuff off.
And maybe you get, a few good gals and you have a few roommates.
What is the debt? Sometimes I wish I could work for the Dave Ramsey show because then I could just ask the questions that I want to know. What is this debt comprised of?
You don't have to keep doing this on your own. So how much money do you make?
$44 a year with my full-time job. And I've done some Ubering on the side. So that probably brings in about 15 to 20.
Okay.
Well,
she could be stable if she wanted to be. If she's making 44, let's just round up to 45, plus we'll be generous. Well, I think she said 15 to 20. Let's even go with less than that. Let's say she makes 45 and then add on 10,000 more. That's 55 grand. She has the money for stability. She has the money. Now, 55 grand with 100K in debt, been there, done that. All right. But she has the money for stability. So it makes you ask, why does she not want that stability? I don't think this lifestyle is going to help her peel out of the debt. Running away from your problems, family, I know. Oh, do I know? Running away from your problems will not peel you out of debt.
Phoenix just moved all their Ubers to autonomous, didn't they? Or
I'm not sure.
A big chunk of them?
I do the Uber Eats. I don't do the pickup people. Yeah.
Okay. So you're making about $60K and you have $100K in debt. What kind of debt is all this?
Here we go.
38 is for a student loan. Another 47 is another student loan. 17 is car, and the rest is credit card.
Oh, family. Oh, my Lord. She's looking at 80 grand approximately in student loans. Maybe that's what she's running from. She's running from a combination of debt, bad family, maybe bad decisions. Now the question becomes, what's her student loan in? That may not even be relevant at this point. 85 grand in student loans. I would say I'm speechless, but in this case, I almost feel more heartbroken because she knows she's messed this up. She's messed it up pretty bad. She needs to get on her feet. She needs to get stability. That's what she needs. She needs to get out of the freaking car and get into place. I would even be happy if she rented a garage out of someone's house. This is Phoenix. It's not cheap to live in Phoenix. I would price Phoenix almost similar to Tampa. Okay, like I said, one of my best friends in the world, she lives in Phoenix. Phoenix and Tampa, depending upon where you are in Tampa, they're almost priced pretty evenly, I think. So I have an idea as to what her income amount is. She can get stability if she chooses to. I suspect, and I'm not jumping, but I'm going to jump anyways, we might be dealing with some mental health issues. And that's partly what's causing the instability. Again, I'm playing Dr. John and my experience.
Okay. What was your degree in?
Communications, broadcast journalism.
And what are you doing for work right now?
That's my degree. Communications, broadcast journalism. Actually, broadcast journalism is my specific degree. Broadcast journalism today, you know what the problem with broadcast journalism is today? Folks, look at what's happened to communications. Do we really need broadcasters today like we had them when I graduated? No, we don't. As a matter of fact, tell you, let's veer for just for a second, family. Veer with me here for just a second, okay? When I was a student at the University of Oregon and I was sitting in a broadcast journalism class, I actually have a degree in news anchoring, you know, where you sit there and you talk about the weather and all that stuff, okay? I have a degree in news anchoring. I remember in that class, I graduated in 1989 from the University of Oregon. They said to us about, I think it was around my senior year, kid you not. They said, you know, someday they're going to not need journalists like we have journalists today. And not thinking back to 1980, okay? 1987, 88, 89, all right? And we were like, well, what do you mean? Newspapers, you need all these journalists and reporters. And we were actually told back then, when I was in my 20s, because I graduated 21, no, there will be a day when we are not going to need the type of reporters you guys see today. And I remember in our head, we could barely even, that was a concept we really couldn't understand because we were raised with all these TV reporters. And they also said that someday you're going to look at your information on a great big screen and your TV is going to look like a picture. And I remember our class. I remember this as clear as day. We sat there and we said, but how can a TV look like a picture? We know what a TV looks like. And of course, we're thinking of those great, big, herky, chunky TVs, the Zenith. Everybody remember the Zenith? Big and boxy, okay? Stuff like that. This technology that we have today was being discussed when I was a college student. Now, here's the thing. What's happened to these liberal arts degrees, family, over the last 20, 30 years? They're not needed. A communications degree today, it's not even needed for teaching purposes. I would have rather seen her, I hate to default, but what degree does she have to back up this broadcast degree? And by the way, anybody can be a broadcaster now. Start a YouTube channel. Do we even need broadcasters? Do we need the same entertainment shows? I haven't had cable, in like 8 years. I watch YouTube. All right. These type of degrees today, and I wonder, obviously it cost her 85,000. This today was not a great degree choice. And you're talking to a person who majored in the exact same thing she majored in. Now, if in my 20s, I can be told that basically this journalism broadcast degree is going to change over your next 20, 30 years. And yet you've got students majoring in it today. They better have an angle. They better have something else to attach to it, because just a communications broadcast journalism degree today, won't say it's pointless, but for all intents purposes, it doesn't draw in the employment value that it had when I got the same degree in 1989. We have identical degrees, absolutely identical.
HR.
Okay.
Hold
Would
on.
you want to be doing something?
Hold on, let me back up.
Communications, broadcast journalism.
And what are you doing for work right now?
HR.
Okay.
I think she said HR, like human resources.
Would you want to be doing something closer to your field?
Yes.
And that's the problem. Broadcast journalism today, a heck of a hard job to not just go into, but to also sustain a living out of. My first broadcast job, I worked in radio at a radio station in Eugene. The very first month that I was hired there, and here I am, this snappy 23-year-old, okay, thinking she knows everything. I've been humbled over the years on that. So here I am, 23 years old. I got to watch my manager damn near get fired. And why was she fired? She was aged out. I remember the person that hired me literally, and I'm 23, thinking, oh, life is all great and wonderful. And my boss who actually hired me, she said, I'm leaving the station today. And I'm like, why? You just hired me. And she goes, she didn't get into the politics of it. She was very professional. She just simply said, they don't need my services anymore. That was my first realization, honestly, about the potentials of age discrimination. Not saying she was age discriminated against, but the older part of me says yes. Okay, they didn't need her anymore. Broadcast journalism also, if you're going to major in it, not only is it difficult to get a job in, plan to be in and out of the jobs a lot. And you also have to plan to move from city to city to state. Very few people today are going to work at one broadcast station and just stay there.
I think it's possible. I think you took whatever job was there, which is totally fine, but I want you to move into something that you're really passionate about, because that's going to end up increasing your income over time and going to help you pay off this debt.
Broadcast pays horribly. Again, you are talking a field that I have a degree in. Broadcast journalism is horrible, horrible pay. Yeah, you hear about the big anchors on the national news. They got discovered working in some little station in Montana, and now here they are. How many of those do you know? And the other thing, if you want to go into broadcast journalism family, is be prepared to do a lot of freelance work. Are you good at promoting yourself? Today's broadcast journalist needs to be very much an extrovert and being able to constantly promote your stuff. It's like being a freelance writer. You may have a gig for a while, a contract for a while, but eventually that contract is up and you're on to the next gig. If you don't like that type of lifestyle, trust me, this is not a field you want to major in.
Because right now, how much money can you throw at the debt every month between the payments and the extra?
Maybe 1,000 or 2,000 a month.
Have you done the math on
That's
that?
10 years, not including interest.
Holy cow. Oh, I think we have a comment. Hi, Parlor. Parlor writes, I think the debt. Oh, forgot my glasses. Hold on. Where are my glasses? You know, family, I have to have my glasses to see. Okay, hold on here. Parlor says, I think the debt is worse than whatever she majored in. I agree. Yeah, we know she majored in communications / broadcast journalism. I don't know how she's going to get out of this debt. I mean, people say, oh, God will find a way. Yeah, but you still got to help the Lord you still got to help. You got to do your part. I forgot the last part, what he was saying here.
Maybe 1,000 or 2,000 a month.
Have you done the
Okay, she can put $1,000 to $2,000 a month towards the debt. Oh, family, $1,000 to $2,000 a month. This is $102K debt. She's looking at 50 months minimum.
math on
That's
that?
10 years, not including interest.
Oh,
$1,000 a month is 100 months for you to become debt free.
Oh, that's right. 'Cause it's 100,000. Oh, geez.
Yeah, I should be definitely
bad
doing way
plan.
more.
We need to be
Yeah.
throwing more like 2 or 3K a month.
You know, it'd be great for her, Chelsea in Phoenix, Arizona. You'd be great for you. Can you find a roommate? This is one of those situations where roommate situations, to me, would be absolutely ideal. Family, I was watching a show the other day, and they were talking about the new norm may be that people have roommates well into their 30s because of what the rental economy, food economy, and all of that stuff is that people may wind up having roommates a lot longer. You know, this idea, and I'm not, going to pick on Gen Z because they get picked on so much. Okay. But this idea that you're going to move out of your parents' house, go to college, and then graduate, have this great job, even for the millennials, perhaps too. Okay. Have this great job and be living in your own apartment. That may not be happening. People may be having roommates until they get married. People may be having roommates well into their 30s. Just an article that I read. I thought that was kind of interesting.
Okay.
That's 33 grand a year. You're done in 3 years max. So that's where we need to figure out how to get that margin. If that means you move back with some family or friends, or you get 3 roommates, you
Apologize, I was coughing.
do that. But we can't keep living in this car.
People. Roommates. That's just what I was saying. That's what she needs. Because living in a car, toting around with your doggy, all right? You can't pay off $102,000. I just don't see how you can do it legally. So let's put that in there. Legally. I mean, there's always a way to do it, But we don't want to go down the illegal route.
Is the car loan on this Kia?
Yes.
I'm guessing you're underwater on this car. I doubt you're going to be able to sell it after you converted it like that.
Yeah, she can't sell it, George. She lives in it. She can't sell the car.
Very much underwater.
Okay.
Have you ever been so lost in your life, family, that you feel like there's just no way out? And every direction you turn in, there seems to be a wall in every single direction. Yeah. And you know what I found? My experience tells me, and I've been there. You know how you have to get out of it? You got to find out what's causing it. And here's the interesting part. We can say that the money is what's causing it, her $102,000 debt. But really, it's deeper than the money. The money is just what she's using to try to escape something she doesn't know how to get out of. This isn't, I'm going to shift a little here to a kinder, gentler. This isn't really about the money. It's not. She's running from something. My history being born in Vietnam, beaten the crap out of multiple times in my life. Okay. Yeah, I know what it's like to have the holy bejesus beat out of you. Yes, physically. She's running. That's what she's doing. And all the ideas that we give her, all the things that we're suggesting for her to do, go get a part-time job, go get roommates, do this, do that. None of this is going to work unless she can figure out what's eating at her. When I was in Saigon, Vietnam, I was beaten regularly. Absolutely beaten regularly. And it took me through my late 20s to figure out what the hell was wrong with me. Why everything I touched failed. It didn't matter what I did. Everything failed. But what I began to realize was she's going to have to step way back. Chelsea has got to figure out. She gave us a clue when she said something about her family. That's what Chelsea's going to have to solve. And Chelsea really has 2 roads. This is kind of what I came down to. I was either going to keep going down the wrong road, and I was going to keep chasing and chasing and chasing and hitting a wall, or I was going to have to stop right smack where I was at and just go, time, pause. And I needed to figure out what the hell was eating at me. And only when I could start to figure that out that I could go, oh, this is why getting a college degree did not solve my problem. This is why being in the wrong relationships did not solve my problem. This is why running from job to job and relationship to relationship, city to city did not solve my problem. This is why the friendships that I made, some of them struggled, did not necessarily solve my problem. She got to figure that out. She has to figure that out. When I lived in Vietnam and I was adopted at 4.5 years old. Okay. And it's taken me years to even discuss this, but I think I can do it now. I was beating the holy crap out of. I don't know why they beat the shit out of me, but they did. I want you to imagine a 3-year-old. Imagine yourself at 3 years old, or better yet, why don't you imagine someone you love at 3 years old? Now take their forehead and bash it as hard as you can against a shower tile wall until they bleed all over. And then you wonder why at 20 years old, they can't get their life squared away. See, the reason I recognize what Chelsea's doing is I've done the same thing. She's running. This debt is solvable, but not until she stops running. You see my point? Her problem is solvable. Even though she may not have majored in a great degree, I would not have majored in broadcast journalism today, knowing what I know about, a lot of liberal arts degrees, okay? I would not have picked that as a major, but let's put that aside. That I would almost say is the least of her worries. What she should really be worried about is why she doesn't understand why she's running. And she's not going to understand it until she stops running, until she decides to ground herself. Her family caused her trauma. She may have to deal with that. Yeah. Because until that's dealt with, she could go on like this until she becomes a 50-year-old woman that's lived out of her car for the last 10, 20, whatever number of years. You ever heard stories about people who are homeless? Okay. And you say, how long, you've seen videos, all right? And they'll ask them, how long you've been homeless? And they'll go 10 years. The minute I hear that, I immediately say to myself, this isn't really a homeless problem for that person. It's something up here. It's something that happened to them down the road. In their past that they've not been able to solve. I genuinely believe that. And people go, well, they're like that because of drugs. Right. Why are they not off of them? Well, they're like that because of mental health. You're looking at a person with a mental health issue I can't even talk about on YouTube. Okay. So I get it. This isn't a money problem that Chelsea has first and foremost. She got to figure out what she's running from. That's what she needs to do.
Well, you're going to debt snowball all of this and pay off the smallest balance, the largest. That means splitting up all the student loans, splitting up the credit cards, and paying off the smallest one first.
And if you're gonna keep living a nomadic life, pick a place that's cheaper so you can get an apartment. Phoenix is incredibly expensive for somebody making $40,000 just trying to trying to find two pennies to rub together. Move to Kansas, move to Nebraska, move to somewhere that's cheaper to live.
Yeah.
And
if there is one person in her life that she can go to, just one person, I would tell her, go to that person and see if they will rent you a room. Offer to pay a small amount, for rent, and see if they will help you. I feel sorry for people who don't even have one person in their life. And this may be the case. And if that is the case for Chelsea, she's going to have to do it on her own. And it can be done. It can. Okay. But if Chelsea, this just ran this morning, folks. This episode just ran this morning. Chelsea, if you ever see this, I doubt you will. If there's one person that you can go to them. Because here's from my experience also. Sometimes the one person that will help you, that's the person that someone like Chelsea will not go to. Why will they not go to her? Because of pride. So instead of going to that one person that would do something, Chelsea may choose to go, no, I'm not going to tell them. But sometimes you get to a point in your life where you have to tell somebody. You can no longer keep it secret. I remember in my 30s, shortly before I became a teacher, when I decided I had had enough of the crap and I really needed to fix things. I had never really told my dad and my stepmom just what was going on in my life. And man, I wish I had. I wish I had. My parents, if you follow this channel, they have an RV. I guarantee it to you, my parents have said, Carrie, there's the RV. All right. Because my parents have a small place. So it's easier to have, an extra kid staying in the RV. I have no doubt my parents would have helped. But why did I not go to them? Because of the fact that it was just that I don't want to disappoint. And sometimes, have you ever had a friend who won't tell you that they're going through something? And then the minute you find out, you go, why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you tell me you were having surgery? Why didn't you tell me you didn't have enough food to eat? Why didn't you tell me these things were going on? And they're like, oh, I didn't want to bother you. There are times when to save yourself, you must go to somebody and say, I need help. And that's what I've learned. Sometimes you just have to do it. And you got to put that ego and you got to put that pride. And you just got to say, I messed up. I need help. There's nothing wrong. It's not a handout. All right. The people who will love you aren't going to see it as that. But I know I get a little miffed, when someone I love, is going through surgery and they don't even tell me. And that's like, I could have supported you. I could have kept you from going down this road. Chelsea really has two positions the way I see it. And based on my experience, she's either going to go down this road and she's going to be living in this freaking car 5 years down the road and she's going to be in worse shape, or she's going to change direction. It's almost like that Robert Frost poem, The Fork in the Road. This is where Chelsea is at. I pray that with this phone call, clearly she has an awareness that something is wrong. And may this call be that fork that changes it. But I don't know.
Good idea.
You cannot outrun this debt. You can't pretend it never happened.
She can't outrun her trauma. She can't deny that it ever happened. She's not outrunning the debt. She's outrunning the trauma. That's what she's trying to run away from. The debt is just a symbol of it. I didn't try to run away from my debt. What I was running from is trauma. That's what I'm running from. That is what Chelsea's running from. But to people who have not lived that type of lifestyle, who have not had a traumatic background, they see it as she's trying to run the debt. It's not the debt she's afraid of. She's afraid of her past. That's what she's afraid of. She doesn't want to go back home because to go back home revisits that past. She'd rather have a 6-figure debt, living in her car with her dog in freaking Phoenix, where it's going to be hotter than heck, than go back home. That tells you the type of home life she came from, or the home life that she perceives she came from. Because perception is one's reality. Have you ever heard people say, oh, these people are just so great? And somebody else goes, no, they're not. Or, oh, your parents are just the most wonderful people. No, they're not. I'm not saying mine aren't. Okay. But it's that perception. Perception is reality. The debt is just nothing more than a big old symbol. It's a scream for help. It's a cry for help. That's what her debt is. If she didn't have the family trauma that she's trying to escape, okay, this would be an easy call to solve. It really would.
And you can't just wander wanderlusted away. At some point, it's going to come for you. And my fear is you're not going to listen to a thing George and I say, and you're going to look up in 5 years, and that $100,000 is going to be $175,000 with penalties and late fees.
I'm going to end it here. Stop sharing. Hold on just a second. Family. Yeah. That's exactly what I was saying. She's really at a fork in the road. Okay. And how she chooses to go is going to be what determines her future. I hope she has one person. One person. I want to thank you guys for joining me. That's enough for me today. I'm Carrie. This is Consumer Debt Chit Chat. I hope you will consider subscribing. You guys have a great day.